If you are a newcomer to this congregation this morning, I say welcome. You and I have something in common. I'm a new kid on the block as well. And perhaps you're wondering the same thing I'm wondering. How will I be received? What will happen to me? How will this group of people work with me and allow me to be part of the community if I'm so inclined? Now, for those of you who have traveled and attended several of our congregations as I have, you probably know the typical experience of someone coming to our congregation for the first time. First of all, you're usually late because you couldn't find the church because the directions were inadequate. You couldn't find a place to park because somebody had already filled all the visitor spaces. You come in the building somewhat anxious, and if you're lucky, somebody will say, "Hi, welcome. Would you like to get our newsletter? Come over to our table and we'll give you some information." And then you're kind of left to drift. Oh, maybe you're lucky and they'll give you a name tag to fill out. Then after the service, the odds are very good. Someone who noticed that you're new will come up to you. Although not always. I remember vividly attending our congregation in Swampscott, Massachusetts, some years ago, where they used the custom of the colored cup. I don't remember whether it was blue or red or pink, but you were supposed to take a cup if you were a visitor. And I was greeted so warmly by this lovely woman who was serving coffee out of a Paul Revere coffee urn. She couldn't have been nicer. I took my coffee and I started to wander around and noticed as I wandered with the brightly colored cup, no one was even acknowledging that I was there. And I started out politely, and I'm pretty good at going up and saying, "Hi, I'm new," but I wanted to see what would happen. And eventually I let my arm go further and further out from my chest. So I was eventually walking around like this, almost waving my cup. No one said hello. I returned my cup to the lovely woman who had given it to me in the first place. She was so kind. And she said, "Oh, I hope you'll come again." And quietly I said to myself, not a chance. Or perhaps you've had this experience, which I've seen way too often. You go to a congregation for the first time and somebody comes up to you, having identified you as a newbie. "Why have you come here?" And suddenly you have to justify your existence and provide a rationale, even an excuse for coming to this congregation. I'm sad to say how often that happens. Former president of the UUA, Peter Morales, once said, "If we could only stop turning away our guests," although he used the word visitors at the time, "we would double our membership in a year." But alas, we keep turning people away, even though we sincerely mean we're glad you came. But notice the tense there. We're glad you came. It's not the same as saying, we are glad you are coming to be with us. It's past tense. Now, think about the word visitor. A visitor is someone who goes somewhere for an event or to a place for a limited duration. We visit national parks, we visit the doctor, we visit the zoo, we visit libraries. Nobody expects us to stay there but for a brief time. Think of what we say to a newcomer, "We're so glad you have visited." The implied message is, we don't expect you to stay. So as an interim minister, part of my job is to say to the existing membership of the congregation, there are some things I would like you to consider doing differently. And right away, I want to say to you, stop using the word visitor. What should you replace it with? With the word guest. Now think about the word guest. Someone comes to your home. You don't say, "Thank you for visiting." You say, "We're so glad you have come. Come on in." And often you will say, "Make yourself at home." Now you really don't expect them to stay overnight, but nonetheless, you want to convey the sense that mi casa, su casa. My home is now your home for this next little while. We treat guests differently than we treat visitors. And the difference can be summed up in what former President Bill Schultz once said: the mission of our church, of our faith, is to teach the fragile art of hospitality. Hospitality is a very rich word, and it has its roots, interestingly enough, in hospice, which was the name of the places for travelers years ago. It's the same root as hospital. And the implied message is, you come here, we extend hospitality, we will be hopeful that we can serve you, we can care for you. So if you stop using the word visitor, stop saying we're so glad you came, and stop asking why you came, and start saying instead, I'm so glad to meet you. How may we be of service? To be a guest in someone's home, they automatically offer you refreshment, food and drink, a pleasant place to sit or to stand. They're glad to have you there. And one way or the other, they say, how may I be of service to you? Same with congregational life. If we are to become the beloved community with the hope of the world in our hearts, that we can turn that notion more broadly than our four walls, we will start saying to everyone, I am so glad to meet you. How may I be of service? Yes, we have no visitors from this day forward. Blessed be. So, it seems like it was just a couple weeks ago when I first heard of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Susquehanna Valley. And I was asked, would I consider coming to work with you good people as an interim minister? My life was pretty quiet and content, having retired from active ministry 4 years ago. I thought about it, and I finally said, yeah, that sounds like a wonderful challenge. And then I met you good people, or at least some of you good people. You have some wonderfully talented leaders who said hello to me. And I said hello back. And then what do we say to one another? Eventually they said, yes, we'd like you to come. And I said, yes, I'm glad to come. And so here we are for the first time together this day to begin a years-long ministry of transition, helping you as a group of people, as a congregation, as a unified body of faith, to figure out how to be the best representation of Unitarian Universalism you can possibly be, and to lay the foundation so that my successor colleague can come and serve as a settled minister among you and stay with you for many years to build into your possibility and your hope. So let's have some fun. Use the chat line and type in as many ways you can think to say the following. Hello, how's this? In Russian, or in Chinese, ni hao. Aloha. German, guten Tag. Italian, ciao. My Norwegian, gumor. Among the gentry years ago was always a gesture of respect, a bowing, and with women of the day, a curtsy. How many ways can we say hello? Can we have some fun with? In my Chicago neighborhoods growing up, hey, what's up? So what is up when you meet somebody? When you say hello, you're doing at least one thing immediately, is you're acknowledging that there's another human being in your sphere of influence and you can engage them. Now, most of the time our hellos are in passing. Most of our engagements with others are brief, but there's always the possibility that they might be something else. I have a spiritual discipline. Whenever I'm in a grocery store or other retail establishment, I look for the name tag because they all wear name tags these days. And I greet them by name. And I used to say, hi, how are you? And I'd get the perfunctory fine. I said, I'm looking for something more. So I started saying instead, how goes your day so far? Or what kind of morning have you had? Now, it's a brief encounter, and so the answers tend to be brief, but every now and then, one day, a young woman named Anna was working in the grocery store registry, and I said, Anna, how are you today, this day? And she replied, and to my surprise, the bagger at the end of the conveyor belt was also Anna, and she thought I was speaking to her, and they both answered at the same time. And I paused for a moment, somewhat puzzled and amused by that. And then I listened to their voices and I said, I can sure tell you are not from Alabama, as they spoke with this incredibly Eastern European accent. And I said, where is home for you? And Anna said to me, Ukraine. And the other Anna said, Estonia. And I looked at the first one and I said, Здравствуйте, как вы поживаете? Which in Russian means, hi, how are you? And her eyes just lit up to hear her own language spoken to her. And she started replying to me in super fast Russian, and I didn't understand a word she said. So I said, Я говорю по-русски много плохо, which I think means I speak Russian very poorly. Well, that led to yet another smile, and we had a quick banter in English, and happily there was nobody standing behind us to rush the conversation. And for that little moment of time, I said hello, and there was an actual moment of grace. If you think about all the ways we say hello, there's usually a ritual that goes with it, and some of them are verbal. In addition to, hi, I'm fine, it's, well, how about the weather? We talk about the weather all the time because it's a good, safe topic. Or as I wanted to do this morning, wasn't it so cool that the Mets and the Yankees played last night's baseball game together in honor of the 20th anniversary of 9/11? Wasn't that cool? And what a great game it was. When there's bad weather and the floods, you know, how you doing? Did you get wet? Did your basement get wet? We ask these sort of gently probing questions to say more than hello, but to convey that we care. But we recognize that, well, you know, you ask somebody, hi, how are you? And they say, I'm fine. And they go on. You don't expect them to say anything more than that because it's a ritual. But how different it is if you say hello and you look someone in the eye and say, really, how are you? It's an invitation to a relationship that's as much deeper. Now, as a people of faith, we come with all the scars and the wounds and the guardedness that helps us get through just the too muchness of our days. I can't care in depth for everyone I meet. And so those rituals, hi, how are you? Fine, thank you very much, are important. It acknowledges we're humans together. And as I say, you never know when it might open up a door to some new kind of grace. But as a faith community, desiring to be a beloved community that wants to go deeper with one another, know each other, getting to know each other in ways that make us feel loved, make us feel welcome, give us somebody to dance with when we're happy and somebody to hold us when we want to cry, or we get to do the holding and the dancing with others. What do you say after you say hello is an opportunity to build something called trust. When that little baby comes into the world, she announces herself, hi, I'm here. No, it's not quite that articulate. The doctor or the nurse takes the baby and lays it on the mother's chest, and she hears the familiar heartbeat and knows it's safe to be here. The first stage of faith development has to do with creating trust in our relationships. And trust is a very fragile thing that needs to be earned. I'm very mindful of that. Why should you trust me even to be here today? Well, all right, you had some of your members that you trust say it was okay. And they had our UUA say, this guy's okay. And then we did some helloing back and forthing and talking about how it might work together. And we thought, oh, maybe we can trust each other. And on my part, I said, I don't know these people. Are they healthy? Is this a place where my ministry can actually work? And so here we are, trusting each other, ready to lean on each other in the healthiest ways to create a productive ministry. But the issue of trust as a spiritual issue goes every time you encounter someone new. So we have the rituals, hello, hi, how are you, and so on and so forth. But if we are going into some place for the very first time, we look for symbols of trust. Things that say this is a safe place to be. And I'm inviting you today to pay attention in this week ahead to all the places you go and ask yourself the question, do I feel that I can trust this space? And then think about the people you encounter. Are they trustworthy? Now, before the Boy Scouts went off the deep end, I was proud to be a Boy Scout. I learned more from scouting in terms of my spiritual values than I did from anything else. And the first word in the Scout law is a Scout is trustworthy. And I have paid attention as a minister to being worthy of your trust. Now, what constitutes such worthiness? Well, we could say immediately, you walk your talk. What you say is what you do. You aren't a hypocrite. You aren't a phony. You don't say one thing one place and another thing another place. Right now, across this country, trust is shattered, absolutely shattered. Nobody trusts anyone, but can we be the sanctuary building trust by being ourselves worthy of trust? Now, if I give you a scale to stand on at home, you can do this experiment. And you get on it and it reads a number, and most of us would say it's larger than we think it should be. And we get off of the scale and then get back on, and it reads something markedly different. What do we conclude? That scale isn't working properly. We might get on a third time, and if we get yet a third valuation of our weight, we say, time to get a new scale. The word trust is immediately followed by the word reliable. And if you are reliable, then the next word that follows in a faith community is hospitable. Do you practice the art of hospitality with one another by creating a place where people feel the congregation is trustworthy, its leaders are trustworthy, you can be trusted and expected to be worthy of trust? This is the work of ministry. This is the mission of our faith, to teach that fragile art. And I am glad to be here today to start doing that work with you. I'll do everything I can to earn your trust so you can lean on me as you think you need to. I will work with your leaders to create the whole congregation as a trustworthy place. So what do we do after we say hello? It's a variation of, hi, how are you? And then it's, shall we walk together? Can we go somewhere together? Where shall we go together? Let's go hand in hand, heart in heart, knowing that together we can rely on one another because we are trustworthy. May it be true. So after we receive one another as a guest in our hearts, after we take some time getting to know one another, and we've said hello in a way that says, let's walk together, let's work together, then the fun begins. Truly, then the fun begins. In this period of time coming before us, I'm going to ask of each of you what I asked of your Board of Trustees yesterday. Let's make it fun. There's good reasons. You learn best when you're having a good time and you're smiling. You don't learn so well when you're fearful and anxious and your mind is closed. So I'm asking you to help me keep it fun. Find something to smile about when we're together. Tease each other gently, lovingly. Share your stories. This is the risky part for each of us, to find an appropriate sharing of who we are that says, I'm going to give this little part of my soul to you and see what you do with it. It's some version of trusting, but not. But if I pass the test and I honor what you've shared with me, then maybe we can share something more, and I can share something more of me, and our souls can open up to each other, and we can truly learn that it is safe as a faith community to lean on one another. That is certainly the basic essence of what it means to belong to a community, that you can lean on one another and know you will be held up in joy or in sorrow, and in hope and aspiration. We struggle with the messiness of our world and try to bring love beyond our doors and keep hope alive at every opportunity. So I invite you on the journey. We've said hello. Now what? Now the fun begins. Let's keep it that way as the year unfolds. Bless you for inviting me to come. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you the gifts that I've acquired, having served several congregations who've taught me there are better ways and there are less than great ways to do ministry. I will try to share with you what I have learned, maybe nudge you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but at all times, I want you to know I'm caring about you as a community, caring about you as individuals, and together we will build this light of love. May it be so, and may we be proud of the work we do together. Amen.